Thanks to everyone for joining us here today. We're here with Jonathan Buckle, who's the SVP of Americas for Mitel.
Vegas, Mitel have got a big team here, and we're making the most of it with people like you, Moshe, and our partners and some of our customers.
And that's exactly what I want to dive into. You guys have made a couple of key announcements this morning. Why don't you walk us through that? And we'll talk about the implications about those announcements for partners and so on.
Yeah, well, we have made a couple of big announcements. The first one is around our workforce experience platforms. And basically, one of the things Mitel is very focused on is the frontline workers across the planet, in small businesses and large enterprises and everything in between. But they're generally an underserved part of technology. We all focus on people like me and you who, give me a headset and a laptop and I'm good. But there's, a huge portion of our customer base are doctors and nurses and teachers and police men and women, and so they work in a very different style. And we've launched a set of products that allow for those people to take advantage of critical communications, which is really what we provide to our customers.
So why don't we walk through that a little bit and try to understand the various parts of that. For me, I see it as a very critical, it's a vertical of sorts, right? What was the thought process, behind this? What's the real play here?
Well, I wouldn't say it's like it's a new announcement, right? Because we're actually got the next version. And it's a sort of refreshed and new version of an evolution of platforms, because we've been in this business for a good number of years. So over time, with the multiple acquisitions that Mitel's made, is you put all that technology together and make better technology. And this is really a result of customer feedback in terms of what our customers are asking of us in terms of the features, functionality, flexibility, resilience, and of course use of AI, which is this thing that's on the top of everybody's mind. And
you went there and I didn't.
But how you build that into the workflows of an organization, because I don't know if you ever go to a hospital or anything like that, but when I go, it seems like pandemonium at all times. But those environments don't run without a communication system, a phone system, right? And so building workflows for all those different people, employees inside organizations like that is really critical for how they run their business. So, again, they're not sitting in front of a laptop with a headset every day. They are, doing a very different type of work, and we're really serving that community that's out there.
These are mission critical comms. You're talking, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but you're talking about things like DECT phones, maybe potentially in clinical setting.
There's elements like that. There's the communication device, but then there's the workflows that support, the communications workflow. Because we talk about hospitals, but in teaching, in police and emergency services, in hospitality, for example, there's a specific workflow that you typically integrate to whatever the business runs on. So we all know, like CRMs and ERPs and things like that. But in healthcare, it's electronic health records. In a school, it could be Google Classroom. In hospitality, it's basically the PMS system, which is the property management system. Basically, if you go and stay in a hotel, which you're doing this week, is how do they know to clean the room? You don't give the user a $500 device. They punch in a couple of digits in a phone and that updates the system. You know what I mean? So that's all the workflows behind the scenes that Mitel really powers for our customers all over the place.
And we're talking a lot about, in this show, of course, everybody is talking about AI, workflow, process automation. And I'm sensing that we're going there because I think one of the major things that people are trying to solve this year, and that everybody's going into the healthcare industry or the healthcare vertical to some extent. And I think that there's been a large understanding of clinician burnout, having to do all this reporting and not really even be able to look at those customers or those rather patients in the eye directly. And I think that's sort of one of the applications, of course, of your technology. I just wonder, if you're thinking about channel partners, if I'm a channel partner considering working with you guys, why would I want to do that? Why is this solution, why is it advantageous for me?
For our partners specifically is one of the things that we're seeing with a lot of our channel, and we have some new channel partners, believe it or not, even in the past couple of years, is that, you know, our partners are there to help our customers solve the problems, right? They're not the experts in technology. We are, our partners are. And quite often a customer comes and says, I've got this problem, how can I solve it? Now, AI enables quite a lot more use cases than even a couple of years ago because of things like the large language models that sits behind them, the ability for us to just connect to something like that. And then you're not doing what we used to do many, many years ago, was designing a workflow that was like 90 lines long or something like that. So I think it's given a lot more flexibility. And one of the unique things we have is we launched an application last year called Workflow Studio. And what it enables, our customers can do it as well, but our partners as well, is to develop and design these workflows for any use case.
And something I think that's interesting to point out is you don't have to be a developer to use these technologies.
No, you don't. It's very much graphical. It's very much got its predefined connectors. So if you've got a certain AI model or a specific CRM or application like that, you can just sort of basically plug it in. The unique thing is, though, a lot of those types of tools are always for the contact center. When we develop that tool, it is for our contact center, of course, because we have contact center solutions, but it's actually for the standard telephony or unified communications user, which is a very different, approach than perhaps some other companies have taken. But we're trying to be inclusive with all our customers, small to large, different verticals, to give them, the benefit of the technology, because the technology on its own doesn't do anything, right? It's literally what you do with it that makes the difference.
It's interesting to see this pivot away, and it's interesting to go there. I've gone there with a couple of people, and I just understand that this idea that we once knew of CCaaS, all the CASs that we used to know to be the CASs, right? It's like CX powered by AI now. What have you guys seen on that front? I mean, how are you guys approaching that? I mean, I know you're still using the terms CCaaS and things like that, but how have you sort of reframed how you think and how you develop those products?
Well, I mean, Mitel doesn't make a large language model, right? What we do is give flexibility to our customers to use those large language models. But then we also package up some solutions for, different profiles of customers for them to take advantage of AI without necessarily having, the real skills or the agreements in place. Obviously larger enterprises typically have a strategy around this, not all the case, but then, smaller businesses and mid-market customers need a little bit more help. And so we've packaged that up into our solutions to enable someone to easily get the advantage and the benefits with things like security control and everything that every business wants these days. And I suppose our message for years has been about hybrid. And there was this race to the cloud. Don't get me wrong. It seemed like, cloud's easy, right? Cloud's not easy. It's complicated. And most of our customers are in sort of regulated industries and they're in the sort of community service space, and actually they want a lot more control. They want to choose when they do an upgrade. I mean, you run a hospital, you have to choose and have a window for maintenance and things like that, and
while not sacrificing that underlying security, right?
And a lot of I'll say this, because this comes up a lot with our customers. If my business is someplace that I come to work, why would you put your workflows hundreds of thousands of miles away from where your people are? And that's the choices we give to our customers. And that's why I think last year I heard a stat, I think it was like 1,300 new customers Mitel acquired globally last year. So not just in the Americas, but there's definitely this desire for more control in our customers, more security. We know, particularly with our European business, there's compliance requirements over there, but literally it's about delivering, critical communications that, basically help our customers achieve their objectives.
Jonathan, I want to thank you very much for joining us here today at Enterprise Connect.
Just hit the Mitel website. You can connect with me on LinkedIn because I am on there. You'll see my happy face on that. But anybody in Mitel will be pleased to engage with you and point you in the right direction. Let me say that.